Hello and welcome to Screen Time with AVForums. We're just here for a quick update due to the recent passing of the late, great David Lynch. I'm just going to shout out his filmography because there aren't actually a huge amount of titles, but boy, did they make an impact. Started with 77's Eraserhead, then The Elephant Man, then his take on Dune, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, Lost Highway, Straight Story, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. And obviously, Twin Peaks amounts to Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, and the Twin Peaks revival show. We just thought we'd all talk about our favorite Lynch. I'm going to go to Mark first because he's picked Dune.
Why do you say it like that? Actually, why on earth do you say it like that, Cass?
It's like the least Lynch movie. I've got to. Anyway, yes.
Oh, do you know what? I'm really sorry, but it isn't. You only have to watch the Villeneuve movies to know that that's not true. Lynch brought his, everything that he was, his fascination for the weird, his fascination for the surreal, his fascination for the exploration of that darkness, that all that stuff that bubbled under the surface. He threw that into Dune and created the weirdest sci-fi spectacle you will likely ever see. I mean, for a kid who was brought up on Star Wars, I came to Dune because I heard that he came this close to directing Return the Jedi, and he didn't do Return the Jedi because he did Dune. Oh man, Dune must be amazing. Well, as a 10-year-old watching Dune, I had no idea what to make of that. But it stuck with me, and I love the Villeneuve versions, but they feel so straight laced, so nice in comparison to what Lynch brought to it. And I love the insanity and the weirdness and all the bits that he shoved in the film that Villeneuve didn't put in. And for me, that's where Lynch was at his absolute best. So yeah, I will go to my grave saying Dune is the best Lynch film. Yes. Have at it, AVForums.
I do like the fact that it was a mainstream movie on a fairly big scale. I mean, the closest he came to big scale mainstream movies, but it was still Lynch. I do appreciate that. But I still think he had his hands tied. I mean, with what he would have really done with it if he wasn't studio bound.
Of course he did. But you only had to see what Jodorowsky was going to do with Dune to realise that, blimey, all right, maybe that Lynch fella, maybe he's not bad after all. Yeah, it's I won't talk about any of the other films, but for me, that was closest that we got to almost caging Lynch, but giving him a mainstream film and say, look, here are the constraints. You've got to give us a film that is, very traditional, narrative driven, big budget spectacle. Just put a little bit of you in it. Just a little bit, David. Have at it. And I think he did.
Yeah, maybe, but
I
always struggle with a David Lynch movie that makes sense. So I mean, at least one that isn't some kind of obtuse Sudoku puzzle to solve. Like it's like a Sudoku puzzle with one number, and you can still fathom what he was getting at with almost all of his other movies, but they require some level of work. June, I did enjoy, but you understood it, which immediately for me is a letdown with David Lynch. What's yours, Simon?
I'm not sure I could pick one actually.
So pick two. Go wild.
So, when you said the other day this is what we're going to talk about, I immediately went back to the heady days of VHS, and when I picked off a shelf, that rather chubby fella with the hair sticking up like that, and I thought that's a weird looking thing. What's that all about? Eraserhead, 18. Kaz, brilliant. And stuck it in the old VHS, little 4x3 screen, watching it go over, and I'm thinking, what the bloody hell is this all about? I guess it was my first introduction to abstract imagery at that time. And I watched it again, and then I watched it again. I thought maybe there's something in this. maybe there's something in this, and that's kind of what stuck with me. So that's where I first got the name. Then I remember quite vividly watching Elephant Man, and which is, again, there's a very straight narrative. There's not much abstract imagery in that, except when it comes to the mum's or Merrick's birth and his death at the end. Spoilers. But yeah, I really like that one as well. And the scene that stuck with me there was when the crowd came into Merrick's room and they were shoving him around, and his old circus master found all those people and they brought him in. Now that really stuck with me, struck a chord of how evil people can be. And then talking about evil, of course, you got Black Velvet,
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. Sorry, that's
It
a
is
song,
pretty
isn't
black,
it? Black
though.
Velvet. Yeah, with Dennis Hopper being completely unhinged, genuinely unhinged. That frighteningly unhinged. But again, a great narrative through that, and you can get the film from the first frame. I mean, how awesome was that? That little pan
Yes.
up from that. I mean, just fantastic. And yeah, yeah. So to pick one, I'm not sure I could pick one, but those three certainly resonate with me.
Okay. Well, I'll go with the later ones then. I will say that I was very surprised about how much I enjoyed Lost Highway, particularly when I wrote the recent review. I gained a greater insight that what he had in mind was the O.J. Simpson case, and the notion that after the death of his wife, he was out happily playing like golf the next day. And Lynch said that he couldn't understand this dichotomy. And so in Lost Highway, he very literally split the characters into two completely different people. And all of a sudden the film made complete sense to me. And so rewatching it, revisiting it through the O.J. Simpson prism was it was just genius. It was absolute genius, and it made complete sense why he flipped back later on, and I really enjoyed that journey. But I will say, for 46 years, I had no idea what was going on in that movie, or why the same character was kind of, I enjoyed it viscerally, but I had no what. Well, one day in a prison cell, a prisoner change his face to a completely different person who has a completely different life. I mean, no. So I
It is
think,
interesting, isn't it? How you can rewatch these films that are later and sort of
yeah,
get
good.
more out
Yes.
of it. You know,
And
that's what's so brilliant about the man. You
oh
know,
yeah, I would say the same happened with, thankfully at a much earlier age, with Mulholland Drive, which I just enjoyed for being crazy the first time I watched it, but later, like, probably again through reviewing, you do some modicum of research and
yeah.
reviewing, and it does afford you some kind of insight. And the history of Mulholland Drive, and how he wanted it as a TV pilot, and then he went back in and made it into a movie, and what he was going for. It's still very elusive at times, but I really do like that structure. And that's, for me, that's quintessential Lynch. It's like when you have a really good dream, or nightmare for that matter, and when you wake up, you want to recall it all, and as you're grabbing for it, it kind of slips away. That's that's how you feel about watching a David Lynch movie for the first time, trying to grab at what makes sense and going, no, this doesn't. I kind
I
of
mean,
agree.
I
You hate all of these, Mark, which is why you
no,
sensibly watch Dune and go, I understand this, and I can see, I can
no,
see.
no,
Hmm.
no, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I David Lynch is one I appreciate. I don't often enjoy his films. That's just me.
But
But
you
one
had
of
to
the
watch
things
Inland Empire, didn't you?
that he did.
Yeah, so this is the problem with this entire conversation. That's enough to put anyone off David Lynch.
Exactly.
It's like
but
3 hours of pure, unadulterated David Lynch doing an impression of David Lynch. It's just with a
yeah.
camcorder.
But,
It's
but I think what's interesting about latter stage Lynch, where he's rightly celebrated for his, the absolute absurdist surrealism of Mulholland Drive, of Lost Highway. But to me, look at Twin Peaks. Now, I came to Twin Peaks late. I only watched Twin Peaks for the first time a couple of years ago. It's all right, but
But at the
even I
time,
can but this is the thing. But even I can see what that must have been like in the TV landscape back in the day. And
yeah,
I don't
there was
think
nothing like it.
it's too far of a jump to say no Twin Peaks back in the early 90s, we would not be having kind of prestige, big screen TV that we have now. We just wouldn't. And I think, of all his work, I find it interesting that probably Twin Peaks is the one that he should be most celebrated for, because he changed the landscape on that one. And if you look at it, yeah, there are moments of strangeness in there, shall we say? But
Mhm.
it was Blue Velvet writ large. Now you could argue that Blue Velvet, evolved into it, and I'm sure there's all kind of linkages and stuff between it. But it was that skewering of the surface, the smiling veneer of Americana, the scratch under the surface, and it's rotten and all that. I think that was what he was really good at. That was what
yes,
he did so well. And
except in Inland Empire.
well, God knows what Inland Empire was about. I
Probably
think
about
he
the
just
same thing.
well, I just think he left his camcorder running and forgot to turn it off. That was it. Someone went, "Oh Christ, let's just release this. It's abstract art." And Lynch is there going, "I have no idea what this is. I just put the camera down." Wouldn't
Oh,
surprise me if that's how it was.
I
poor
saw
Laura
a
Dern.
brilliant cartoon today, or was it might have been yesterday? A static cartoon. David Lynch standing at the pearly gates, and St. Peter says to him, "So who actually killed Laura Palmer?"
And I bet you didn't know.
That was the question.
And that's the beauty of it.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of it. So
Right. Well,
yes,
that is,
R.I.P. Mr. Lynch.
yes,
Absolutely.
I think definitely worth going back and revisiting those, and maybe knocking up some reviews for the ones we're missing. I'm going to go for a Twin Peaks dive. There's rumors
So
of
not Inland
4K.
Empire then.
I'm not doing it. And I don't think I ever finished it as a DNF. But yeah. Yes, I would.
I'll get the disc in the post to you tomorrow. And no, I don't want it back.
Very nice, guys. Okay, thank you. And that's it for our little quick chat on David Lynch.